Hello, I'm Dr. Angie McCartney.
And I'm Ruth McCartney.
Welcome to Teaflix,
where each episode's intimate conversation features a fascinating guest across the spectrum of Beatles world, pop culture, Grammy winners, the music industry, chefs, producers, music stars, actors, and more. So bottoms up and join us as they spill the tea on Teaflix. And we are live. Happy Tuesday.
Some of us are. Hello. Good morning, everybody.
I'll pinch you. Proof of life. There we go.
Yeah.
Good morning, my little Tuesday warriors. How is everybody doing
darlings.
Today?
Welcome aboard.
Checking up with the commander in the production tower if we are walking, talking, and chewing gum. Excellent.
Good
So today's guest, today is the 30th of September. Can you believe where it's gone?
Nope.
There's going to be Easter eggs in Walmart next week, I promise. Today's guest, we're really excited to have him. I discovered him on TV a couple of weeks ago. I have known of Mike Paul and the Reputation Doctor, but I was reminded of his expertise on the Ashley Banfield show on News Nation a couple of weeks ago. And Ange and I were watching, and we just liked the cut of his jib, to put it honestly.
So here we are.
So Mike Paul is the president and CEO of Reputation Doctor LLC, a global strategic public relations crisis management reputation advisory, say that 3 times fast, and litigation support firm. And now he's also the chairman of a new nonprofit formed to help in times of natural disasters, crises, etc., and we'll get into that. Mike advises corporations, governments, NGOs, high-profile individuals, athletes, and celebrities on reputation building, crisis response, and brand repair. He has over 25 years of experience in public relations, crisis communications, reputation management, corporate communications, and governmental relations. Known as a frequent commentator in global media on reputation and crisis matters, he's called the Master of Disaster, which I love that one. That's a T-shirt, Mike. We should sell those, by Business Week, called Mr. Fix-It by Sports Illustrated, and listed by PR Week magazine as one of the top crisis PR counselors to have on speed dial. Mike is also named amongst the top 100 thought leaders in trustworthy business behavior in 2012 and 13 by Trust Across America. His client list is wide and diverse. It includes major corporations like Citicorp, BMW, Toyota, Pfizer, as well as governments and international bodies, the WHO, the People's Republic of China, nonprofit organizations, celebrities, and athletes. He often emphasizes the 6 bricks for reputation and crisis management: truth, honesty, transparency, humility, accountability, and consistency. And we'll get into all of those. He advises that in crises, leaders must consider both the court of law and the court of public opinion. Mm-hmm. What might be defensible legally may harm your reputation publicly. So as confetti drops out of the sky and the crowd goes wild, welcome to the Reputation Dr. Mike Paul. Welcome, Mike.
Hello, Mike. Good morning.
Thank you so much, Ruth and Angie, for having me.
Oh, pleasure.
I'm humbled by that intro. Thank you very much.
That's everything you are, and just the tip of the iceberg, as they say, right? Yeah. So going back to the beginning, and Ange has questions.
Yeah, well, yes, I have to put my other glasses on.
She's
multi-talented.
She's almost 96.
That's my excuse.
You look terrific, and you sound terrific too.
Well, my stylist here slaps makeup on me Tuesdays. Makes me look almost human.
Let her out the cage.
Listen, what first drew you to this career path, Mike? And was there a defining moment when you knew this is what you wanted to do?
Thank you for that question. So I started my career in politics as a top aide at the city level, state level in New York, as well as at the federal level. I worked for a U.S. senator, for example, and I've worked on political campaigns, presidential campaigns, congressional campaigns, state, local, etc. And then I went to grad school at Columbia University at the School of International and Public Affairs, and only thought I was going to stick with politics for my entire career. And then I saw this listing for a management training program at then the #1 firm in the world called Burson Marsteller. And the chairman, who already had a reputation of being the most influential man in the world of public relations for over a century, came up with this idea to start a management training program. The profession had never really had one before. Mm-hmm. And he wanted to pluck some of the top minds out of the top graduate schools around America to not start at the bottom, but after a year and a half or so to jump in at the VP and above level within the firm after going through the training. And, you know, there were over a dozen groups and disciplines within the profession, within the New York office, for example, that they would move us around to. And we got to the crisis group, and the hair went up in the back of my neck. The bosses saw a particular skill set that I had already utilized in the world of politics, and I was translating it to corporate and to celebrities and others. And they said, you know, if you want, you can go a little deeper in this area and discontinue the management training program. And a lot of people were already jumping ship, even within months. You know, they say, oh, I only like healthcare, or I only want to do, you know, Wall Street stuff. And my mentor, Mr. Burson, said, however, if you choose crisis, I don't think you should be in one lane. I think your brand should be crisis, period, because you have a skill set that you can work with corporate, you can work with government, you can work with athletes, you can work with celebrities, you can work with nonprofits,
Right.
You can work with foreign governments and foreign leaders as well. So what do you think? And I said, I'm all in.
Yeah, and dare I say also disasters, which when we had our first meeting, you know, we'll get into that as well. Sometimes when you see people after a disaster, they're in such shock that they don't think about the messaging, right?
That's right. That's
Oh,
right.
yeah.
And so, you know, that's another whole area of crisis that I think you were telling me after 9/11, with all of the pulverized asbestos and glass dust in the air, you were just horrified to see what was going on TV, weren't you?
Well, I could tell you part of it's still confidential, but I did work the pile, as they called it, immediately after the 9/11 disaster, 2 a.m. The next day, my pager, remember when we were using those?
Yeah.
Pager went off, and make it long story short, because I have both a CIA and an FBI background check done at the time and was on the list of various vendors for the federal government, I was called in immediately to do some work. And I was there, for example, when George Bush stood on the pile next to a fireman and let the world see. I was literally right at his feet. I worked on some pretty touchy stuff when, sadly, body parts were showing up in the dump and they still had to identify bodies, and work with teams of doctors and other experts to seek to help to identify various people. Since those days, because of the trauma we all went through just working in those conditions, we tend to get together on a yearly basis around the 9/11 ceremony, where we still have psychologists and therapists who are available for us to talk about the experience we went through.
It's ongoing. It's ongoing too, isn't it? They're still identifying bodies or pieces. It's just, I mean, you want to talk about crisis. That was probably the biggest one in the world history, apart from maybe Pearl Harbor, but you know, I wasn't alive for that. But oh my goodness, where do you even start to wrap your head around a crisis like that?
Well, one of the places that I started in the very beginning and was whispering in ears literally within the first 24 hours of the disaster is that spokespeople, family members, so-called experts were calling the debris dust. And I said, guys, it's not dust. We have to educate people that this is cancer causing. The key phrase that I got people to start using is that it's pulverized glass, pulverized wood, pulverized plastic, pulverized everything that has been broken up into such tiny particles that if they get in your lungs, you're going to die. And we had elected officials as well as others, including news folks, who were down there, no mask or a wet napkin or the thin white mask that you saw many elected officials walking around with. And what saved my life and I thank my friend who had an asbestos removal business. When he learned that I was going down, he shipped to me before I hit ground zero, an asbestos mask that has the large filters, the large purple filters that are on the side. And at first, people looking at me like, "Why are you wearing that?" And I said, "You'll find out soon. You should have one," is what I said to everyone that was down there.
Right. Because it sent such a heartfelt message that they all rushed down there, but it sent ultimately a long-term a bad message that it was safe to be down there without a mask, didn't it? So how do you go about saying to people, look, this is pulverized, it's smaller than a virus, it's going in your lungs? I mean, do you draw up a white paper, talking points, a press release? What's the actual procedure to get people to change their mindset and the words that come out of their mouth?
Well, one of the things that we did was we had a medical expert as well as a top expert in dealing with the types of medicine that dealt with particles getting in the lungs. We also examined what the dust was made up of, which really woke people up. I mean, it looks almost like, and even for people to think, oh, it's kind of gray. It looks like broken up concrete. And I said, think about what you just said. Pulverized concrete being breathed through your nose and through your mouth and getting into your lungs. What happens when it's made up of many other things other than that?
Once it gets moist.
Once it's in your lungs, how do you get it out?
Right.
Oh, Mike, I don't want to think about that. I said, well, you better,
Right.
because that's what you're ingesting.
Right. Incredible.
That day, before I got the phone call, I actually had a university downtown Manhattan as a client. I was going to a meeting on 12th, just off of 6th. Walking over to New School University, the Milano School was my client, and I saw the first plane fly over my head.
Oh, God.
I actually saw it hit the building, but it was far enough away that it looked like a small engine plane. But by the time I crossed the street from it flying over my head, only seconds later, I heard someone say, "Oh, they're saying it was a terrorist attack?" And I went for my phone to call home to warn some folks what was happening, and all the lines were busy.
Of course.
Within seconds.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Couldn't get through.
Absolutely.
And by the time I got to the dean's office to discuss what we were going to do, now that we had just learned only seconds before what had happened, the second plane hit.
Oh, God.
It was on his large plasma TV screen in his office, and his office was, you see the windows behind me here. A flash came through the window as I'm watching it.
Oh, my God.
On the TV. We were close enough for a flash to happen, and
Imagine.
his chin started shaking because he had experience, ironically, also working in emergency services in public service before he became the dean. So he was experiencing a little bit of trauma, and I said, "Are you okay?" And he said, "Yeah, I'll be okay." He said, "Mike, what do you think we need to do?" And I said, "I know this is going to sound strange, but my crisis experience says that everyone here is not going to make it home. Let's start booking hotel rooms on the university dime, as many as we can get, and make sure that if people have to stay here, that they have enough food and water and places for them to clean up, etc." And he said, "That's the first thing you're thinking of." And I said, the subways are going to get shut down soon.
Yep.
Traffic's going to get shut down soon. And they might even tell us that we have to leave the area. He goes, "Mike, we're about, at least 14 blocks away from there." I said, "You're not thinking holistically here."
Right. Wow.
You asked me a question. I'm thinking, what's the president of the United States going to say for an act of war that just happened in Lower Manhattan?
Right.
And within about 15 minutes, they started saying anyone below 14th Street has to evacuate.
Oh,
That's when people started walking because there was no subway.
right.
So the option of us staying there
Was no
was
longer
on
enough.
the table. But thank God they booked a few rooms, but still not enough. And there were people that said, well, I live in New Jersey. How do I get out of here? Or
Right.
I live in Connecticut, or, I live in Westchester. I can't walk there. And the people that were around us, we were just speaking to each other like family and saying, if you have nowhere to go, you can come to my place.
Wow.
I'm walking. I'll tell you what I'm doing, and it's going to sound a little crazy, but I'm not walking on Fifth Avenue. We were close to Fifth and Sixth. I'm walking all the way over to the west side, and I'm going to walk up the path through Hudson River Park. Because worst case scenario, if I have to jump in the water
Oh my God.
to be able to protect myself and come up for air, I'm going to think worst case scenario.
Golly. But your brain is wired like that. That's why you are who you are. I might eventually have thought of booking hotel rooms, but I think everybody is, we're all just genetically programmed for fear and flight, right? Just run, go for it. But then how do you actually get off the island of Manhattan if they shut down, the subway, the bridges, the tunnels?
I'd gotten a phone call that came through finally about halfway walking, and it was my brother-in-law who got a message from my sister who said, you're not going to be able to get to New Jersey. Call Mike. And I said, where are you? And he said, I'm about 30th. And I said, walk all the way over to the park, Hudson River Park.
Right.
Walk straight up. When you get to the Upper West Side where I was living at the time, I'll meet you over by the park. By the way, electricity is also an issue in some places. People were trying to figure out, where they're going to be able to get food from restaurants. So I said, okay, let's go order like 10 pizzas.
Right.
At the coal oven place, just in case there's a problem. And
incredible.
We just had enough food, and people just started showing up, and people were even going up to the rooftop to see what was happening downtown. And it was a tough time.
It was indeed. But again, the old adage, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Thank God that your family and your clients had you and your thinking to sort of protect
guide them a bit. Yeah.
I
mean, the shock factor is just indescribable, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Ange lived through Hitler's bombing of Liverpool every single night for 6 or 7 years in World War II. And the first shock sets in, but then you become numb, and that's when you start doing stupid things, right? Because you're just sort of on autopilot, and you're not really doing any critical decision making or thinking or anything. Like you said, the first responders down there with no masks, they were doing what they were trained to do, but nobody was
guidance
thinking
at the time.
And no guidance, exactly.
Yeah.
Can I tell you a little secret?
Yeah.
So what I described was day one. Day two, I was down there, as I said, on the pile, and eventually the president ended up coming, and the world saw him on the pile next to the fire chief. After that ceremony, I had to give the president an update on some things that were happening down there. And I started walking away. Remember, the subway's still not running. And the West Side Highway is closed off.
Oh, wow.
But I'm walking that way. And Secret Service said, Mike, come back. And I said, yeah, guys. He said, where you going? I said, I'm walking home. He said, well, the president thought you might have been doing that. He says, we're going to take you home. I said, well, there's that concrete barrier there. They go, yeah, we're going to move that. And I was the only car going the West Side Highway.
Oh, great.
And they took me home. And I'm getting out, and someone in my building said, is that who I think it is? Is that the Secret Service? And I said, no. Your mind's playing tricks on you. And I got inside.
Yeah. Oh, wow. What a thoughtful man W must have been, huh? And that
was nice.
Given situation, And
So much on his mind.
his
yeah.
whole world is on fire. He
Yeah.
doesn't know what's going to happen next. And then the Pentagon, and then, Pennsylvania. And then he's concerned about how you get home safely to your family. That's a really nice story to hear. That warms my heart. It really does.
Mm.
So when you're building these things, Anne had a question about your famous.
Yeah, your so-called 6 bricks. Tell us how you arrived at that conclusion.
The Reputation Doctor Bricks.
Yeah, 6 bricks.
So I'm gonna get up for a second because I think this will be something that'll be fun to show.
Sure. Okay. We love a show and tell. And Mike was saying that that's a photographic sort of painting, but from a photograph reproduction of his, I want to say great grandmother and grandfather. I might be missing a great from Trinidad and Tobago. It's a beautiful. Oh, fantastic. We've actually got bricks. Good grief.
Years ago, and these look like real bricks, but these are a prop that was made for me by CBS News when I was doing an interview about the bricks.
Yeah.
And the executive producer said, "We got something fun for you to
Right.
and you can keep them." And I said, "Wow, you guys went overboard." But
Fantastic.
honesty, truth, consistency, accountability, transparency, humility are the 6 bricks.
That's fantastic.
So I found early on, when I was working on various crises, that there was a commonality, no matter what, whether it was, as long as it dealt with human beings, versus, a building or a logo or a brand. And I always remind people that, the brand is really the people, not just the institution or name.
Mm-hmm.
And it always ties to bad human behavior. And one of the biggest skill sets that is usually left out of the analysis or the tools is EQ. And most men stink at EQ, number one.
Equilibrium, you mean?
No, emotional intelligence.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
EQ.
Okay.
And emotional intelligence, different than IQ, EQ,
Right.
is truly understanding feelings that are tied to truth. So that's why humility is in there. That's why honesty is the application of truth, right? You can know the difference between right and wrong, but then not apply it. That's why people go, "Oh, aren't those
Don't we all? Yes.
not?" One's knowing and one is acting upon it.
Yes.
Transparency, extremely important. Accountability, and consistency is just as important. We teach little kids before they enter kindergarten in this country these same rules, right? If you get in trouble on the playground for pulling Sandy's hair, right, and the teacher says, "What happened?" Well, you tell the truth. You take responsibility for what you did. You're transparent. You have to be consistent to not do it moving forward, right? If children can do it, then why can't we have the same set of rules? Especially usually in our world, white, powerful men are usually my clients. And these are areas, once they start trusting me, that we start working on. They tell me things that sometimes are not in the newspapers or in the news, like, "Hey, Mike, before we get into a potential solution, I haven't been sleeping." "Well, why aren't you sleeping?" "Oh, my wife left me. I've got 2 kids in college. They have the same last name. They called me up and said, 'F you,' and they hung up on me."
Wow.
We're losing deals. I'm losing business partners. So there's dozens of stakeholders that are getting affected, not just the individual.
Right.
And I say, well, excuse me, our solution is going to be holistic. We're going to work on those things too. I want you to save your marriage. I want you to have the ability to hold on to your relationship with your kids. I took one CEO, and he was also chairman of another board, to a baseball game because his wife was going to leave him because he's never there for the kids. And his son had a baseball game that Saturday. And I said, on a Friday night, we're going. He's like, what do you mean we? I said, oh, I'm picking you up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, Mike, I've never been to any game. I said, oh, well, that's
Exactly.
why she's so
Yeah.
no.
Precisely.
Yeah, but Mike, she's going to be there. No, I can't do it. I go, so let me get this straight. In a boardroom situation, you know how to block out something that is uncomfortable, but with your wife on the other side of a stadium, you can't sit on the other side and cheer for your son? Well, you're going to do so today. I'm going to show you how.
Wow.
Yep.
And it's little things like, okay, he's warming up. Go down to the batter's box and say, hey, I'm here.
Just to let him
goes
know.
Nuts. Dad, my father's here. Oh my God,
Yes.
my dad's here. Comes back and sits down. I elbow him and I go, how'd that feel?
Yeah.
He goes, pretty good. I said, okay, don't look over there. Why are you looking over there?
That's
I know they're talking about me. Only
Okay.
down there.
Mhm.
focus
right.
on the kid. Wow.
And the kid went from F you to Dad, after the game, you want to go have some dinner? You know, I
Get
just
ice
asked
cream.
Mom and she says it's okay. And he looks at me because I drove him there and I go, dude, don't worry about me. Take the car. I'm good. Because we didn't
Wow.
take the car. I said, I'll get home. Just take the car.
Wow. So you're a therapist as well. To really, I mean, to be able to get to the bottom and understand your client and all of the nuances of
Yeah.
what is actually going on and what led up to the crisis point they're in, you have to do a lot of emotional and empathetic digging and finding out the root cause, don't you?
Well, that's what we're supposed to be doing with all of our relationships, because the and I'd say it another way, the greatest skill set to have, in addition to EQ in solving crises, is a strong practiced ability to think deeply from another person's perspective.
Yes.
And I'm not talking about one or two. I'm talking about, with this kind of speed, be able to analyze maybe 24 different stakeholders for a corporation,
Wow.
right?
And all their employees, which might be thousands of people.
Your vendors, the board, right? And bounce around and drill them and test them. And they go, whoa, Mike, you're going too fast. I said, your brain has to get to the point where you're able to do that. The woman in the room versus the older ones in the room versus you're selling products to 20-year-olds. How do you think like a 20-year-old? You're being attacked by an attorney on the other side, all at the same time.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Mhm.
Do you think women have a more natural EQ ability than men?
I do. In fact, it's the reason why, statistically, data-based, women are better leaders than men.
Interesting. Yet there's still this sort of bias when, I mean, I hear whispers when you get on a plane and you see a woman turn left and go in the cockpit, whether she's the captain or the co-pilot, there are still whispers about, oh God, there's a woman flying the plane. You know, it's crazy.
Well, we're talking about overall leadership ability. Female CEOs are better CEOs.
Thank
Female
you.
leader. I mean, just had a press conference. We're going to avoid politics, but I'm still going to talk about a fact, which is the Secretary of Defense, which is now called the Secretary of War.
Yeah.
Just had a press conference today where he said that we're going to be leaning back towards anti-diversity measures,
Right.
and making sure that women and all others, right, are not the lead, that basically we're bringing masculinity back into
Machismo, might I even add.
Yeah.
So but my only argument back on that, not saying whether I like it or not, is the fact that women leaders are stronger leaders. Being able to understand others more deeply is what leadership is all about.
That's right.
Caring how you feel, for example, women leaders will ask, how are you doing?
Yeah.
Male leaders will say, just do it. There's a big difference between the two.
Yeah.
And if the goal is to motivate, I don't care what size the business is, that's extremely important for you to be able to understand your people.
Yeah.
When someone has a tough day, to simply say, "Are you okay?"
Yeah.
And to know that someone heard you is a
Yeah.
huge deal.
Yeah. I carve out an hour every afternoon and I just randomly pick somebody either on our team or one of their family members. One of our clients is going through his second bout with colon cancer in Texas at the moment. So I called his wife
All right.
on Sunday and said, "How are you doing? You know, you're the caregiver. Often the focus is all on the patient. How are you doing? And is there anything you feel is lacking in the business or the restaurant, or is he frustrated about any communications that I may be able to help?" So I just pick somebody randomly that I have no agenda with. I have nothing to gain. It might be somebody I haven't spoken to, like Michael Jackson's old manager, Ron Weisner. I picked up the phone. I haven't spoken to him in 30 years, and we had a 3-hour conversation.
Wow.
And wound up learning stuff from each other that just really helped in leadership. And it all comes back to communication, doesn't it? You have to tell the truth. You just have to get it out there.
And not just communicating to hear yourself, which a lot of people do, but the ability to actively listen,
Yes.
the ability to pause, the ability to also say, "I'm not sure what the answer is. I'll get back to you. I want to think about it a little bit."
Yeah.
Including in consulting. I can't tell you how many people are, and when you're pitching for a client, that's extremely important because sometimes you're being tested.
Yes.
Mike, give me the answer to this right now. I will often say, if you want me to give you an answer off the top of my head, I'm usually not comfortable doing that. I'd rather research it, customize it, and make sure you get what you need. Versus, I could send you a boilerplate PowerPoint, for example, but it's not worth the paper it's written on.
Right. Anyone can do that. Sure. Anyone could go to ChatGPT and say, "How do I blah, blah, blah," and stick it on a letterhead and send it out. But there's no thoughtfulness behind it. There's no brand behind it. There's no love behind it. You really have to love. Do you love what you do?
I do. In fact, I like the unknownness of it. I like the difficulty of it. I like certainly helping people to solve problems. And even when we come up with a customized answer for the moment, all of our agreements say, and think of this as being fluid, because we're only giving you 50% perhaps of the answer right now. We have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow, what the opposing side is going to do. And we have to be flexible to be as proactive with our reactions to what just happened the next day or the next moment.
Right. I mean, it's almost like playing a football game, isn't it? You can go in with a certain set of plays that you think you're going to play, but if the opposing team surprises you, it's like, in the disclaimer, subject to change.
A little bit of art of war, a little bit of football, a little bit of psychology, a lot of patience. I mean, one of the biggest things I tell all of my clients, no matter what type of crisis they're going through, is, did you sleep well last night? Are you drinking enough water?
Yep.
Did you eat healthy food? Well, Mike, why are you even talking about that? Because if we're going to beat the opposing side who's going up against you, those things matter.
Holistically,
including a football game, including in a war, right? You're rested and they're not. I mean, I remember, I was a pretty good soccer player and I was pretty good with other sports. I learned early on, when someone's holding the bottom of their shorts and they're trying to get that extra breath, I'd turn to my teammates and say, "Okay, let's put on the boosters now. Remember that extra training we did when we ran those hills? They're tired.
Yeah. Wow.
Let's pepper the net now because we're probably going to score. They're tired."
Yeah. Interesting.
I think we have to adopt Mike.
I think so. I think we already have.
Immediately.
I don't know how his wife and kids are going to feel about it, but we have room for everyone.
Very kind.
Yeah. So who were some of the people who guided you or inspired you along the way? Can you tell us, or do you have to keep
so many.
that a secret?
I just lost a friend that I haven't even talked to family about today, as a matter of fact. That was announced. And but I have so many, one of which was Lally Weymouth, who is Catherine Graham's daughter from the Washington Post.
Oh, yes.
And Lally was an excellent senior editor for the paper for many years. I met her cutting my teeth in politics in my early 20s. We kept in touch every year since. Early on, first year I met her, she said, I was talking to Ambassador Ed Ney, another one of your mentors. And I'm like, well, you know everybody, of course. And Ed was down the hall from me at Burson Marsteller at the time.
Wow.
And he says, we're going to nominate you for term membership of the Council of Foreign Relations. Would you like that? And I said, sure, that'd be great. He says, and of course you get to hang out with us too. So that's a good thing. Okay, so chop. Oh, by the way, meet us for breakfast at 8:00 near Ed's house on the Upper East Side. And I said, okay. But just, was blessed to have those types of people. And by the way, obviously, I'm a person of color. And I mention that because what I learned through the experience I had, what I share with my mentees now, and I've got a few dozen mentees that I'm proud that lives. They don't all have to look like you. They don't have to be around your age. They don't have to be of the same discipline. I was blessed to have so many different types of people of all different backgrounds be my mentors that I actually think it's a detriment, and some people might disagree with this, a detriment to only say, oh, black guy with black kid or Latino woman with Latino woman. No, mix it up. If the goal is to truly learn from each other,
right?
Yeah,
it's not supposed to be a one-way street that the mentor knows everything.
That's right. You can't cook a tasty dish with one ingredient.
Well, not only that, your mentor is supposed to then say, you've taught me as much as I've taught you.
exactly.
Absolutely. It's give and take and push and pull and Sturm und Drang and all those things, right? Yeah, no,
Right.
Can you share a project or a case or a role that really sort of jettisoned your reputation? When would it be fair to say that the Reputation Doctor really became a brand? And was that just through hard slog, or was the one specific nugget that just propelled you to the stratosphere?
So in 1994, 2 years into the business of working in public relations, period, I had a top corporate client, Wall Street type bank, so many different things that he and the bank were struggling with. And he went from totally standoffish, who's this black guy, and I'm going to trust him in my life and the brand of the corporation, and it's global, and to within maybe 90 days, him starting to share some personal stuff with me. I said, oh, okay, I'm getting closer. Within 6 months, really trusting me because we're solving problems, personal ones, corporate ones, and dealing with a number of different types of stakeholders and shareholders. And then he shared something, another situation where he was on the verge of being divorced. And I basically walked him through a dinner that he was going to set up with his wife to open his heart for the first time in a long time and be vulnerable. We literally had to practice some things for him to get there and open up that heart. But it worked. And my birthday was the next week. And it was a big birthday party. There were about 50 people there. And he was invited. And he shows up with this 6 foot, those vanity cards you can buy from some of these stores, 6 foot cards. And it's got Superman on the outside with a big black magic marker drawn through the whole thing. And I'm like, what is this? And, people are gathering around as I'm opening it up. And he says, Superman, that one's already taken. You're my reputation doctor. In the card.
Yeah.
And, it's a birthday party. We're celebrating, people drinking, music, and they're going, Rep Doc. And I had a Hollywood friend who was into New York for the weekend for the party. And he elbows me and says, oh, that's a keeper. You better do something. I've never heard those two words together. You should do some research. Is anyone else using that? Because if they're not,
go get the .com right now.
You need to make sure you trademark that.
Yeah.
So I looked into it. We then that next week started saying Mike Paul, the Reputation Doctor, on air in interviews. So we then had public use of it.
Yep.
And then when I applied for the trademark, we were able to say we did a thorough search, not just in the United States, but all over the world. We did
Wow.
not find any place where they were saying things like spin doctor and other things, never reputation doctor, and reputation and doctor as two words together. So it's been a
Good for
very
you.
fortunate thing to have
Absolutely.
Sometimes things just fall out of the sky. We were sitting around about 2 months ago, and I said to Ange, "Good grief, woman, you must be the world's oldest podcaster." And we're in the process of the same thing. You know, we've got public use, and we've got trademark attorney Melissa's done, completing all of the searches and everything. So, she's going to be 96 in November and doing a weekly podcast. We cannot find anybody older who's doing this every single week without fail, 52 weeks a year. So like you, we're just going to go with it and get a trademark and do all of those things. Our friend Barbara is saying, Mike, the home you have built with your 6 bricks is an inspiring home, sweet home, one in which we all would be well to dwell. Isn't that nice?
Oh my God, that's so kind. Thank you, Barbara.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely true.
Yeah.
But going through, you were alluding to, you've been in the business quite a while.
Yeah. How has your field evolved since you began? And how have you adapted to sort of stay relevant all the time?
Great question. I'm a big critic of the public relations business, and those that are in the profession know that I'm pretty much an activist for. Imagine you fix things for a living, and not that is a very distinct and small club of professionals compared to the overall publicity and public relations business, which is massive.
Yeah.
Right.
Like the law, there's hundreds of different specialties. Same with PR. We're considered, and I didn't come up with this, and the data plays it out, the brain surgeons of the profession. We're the top of the key. We bill at rates equal to that of the best defense attorneys in the world, for example.
As you should.
And you're not able to just throw out a number, right? The economy dictates whether you're going to get paid that or not, right? So, so that means that we add more value. And I've been quoted in some books that others have written about this. So when then there are problems within the industry, like not enough women getting promoted, like not enough people of color, period, working in the profession, there's still not being today in 2025 a top 10 CEO of a public relations firm still to date, which is just absurd. I speak up. I have for years. I have since my 20s. I have protested against associations that people say, "Oh, no, it's an elite club. You're in there. You're on the board. Why would you do that?" I said, because I don't like sitting as either one or two people for years and nothing changing.
Right.
Fixers change things. We are very impatient to just be comfortable because somebody invited us there. We want it to get better. We want it to improve on a daily basis, let alone a yearly basis. There was an association, and I'll end with this story to let you know how I think. So there's an association of diversity within all of the associations of the profession.
Okay.
And they started this group about 5 years or so ago that was seeking to change that. And they called me, one of the first, to say, "Hey, we need your help with this thing." And the person who called was a white man. Mm-hmm. So I said, "Doesn't it seem strange that you're calling me and you're the leader of the group?" I said it would be equivalent to 3 strong women in the profession saying we're fighting for pay equity and gender rights, and they go, Mike, we want you to be the CEO.
Yeah.
So I said this to this gentleman. I said, why are you the head of it? By the way, I didn't want to be the head of it. I wasn't looking to be the head of it. I
Right.
simply was asking
Boy.
a question I knew the answer to already.
Right. To see if he would tell the truth.
They picked you because they didn't want change. They picked you because they wanted, at best, tiny incremental steps of cover.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I said, I can't be involved with an organization like that.
God, cover is exactly the right word. Cover your ass. Right.
And he was like, his body language, and I've been trained by some top body language experts, his CIA and FBI types. And I said, your body language is telling me that you're upset that I figured out the strategy before it gets started.
Yeah.
But
Do you think
came to me because I was smart, and now I'm giving you a smart answer, and you're upset? I said, how absurd is that?
Oh,
Yeah, that's crazy.
I was born at night, but not last night.
Exactly
That's
right.
exactly right.
Yeah.
Our friend Dina Sheldon, who's been a guest on here too, she is a camera woman she filmed Reagan's funeral, every NFL game, every Monday Night Football game you've seen for the last 20 years. She was inducted into the NFL Hall of Fame. She'll correct me. It's some big deal sports.
Yes.
You're so right. On the tent pole of the events in sport broadcasting, it's only 6% are still women. And
That's
50% of the audience is women for the NFL now. It's pretty much half, right? With the TV audience is certainly maybe not in this thing, but she had to fight, and her partner Jeff, who was wonderful, had to fight so hard. She is just as qualified, and I've seen that lady schlep a 150-pound camera in and out of trucks and middle of the night and snows and Green Bay Packers, and she's sitting up there, and they always put, everybody else is in the broadcast truck, and it was Dina that they would put outside in the sleet and the snow, right? Always. But
well, Dina, you'll appreciate this comment. I've done crisis PR now, getting close to 35 years, and done a lot in sports. Every professional league, I've had a crisis situation in, the Olympics, boxing, etc. But I made a decision early on, and I still stick with that decision, that instead of representing the team or the league, to work only with individual athletes, because I find it difficult to bounce back and forth and have the trust that's needed if they're going up against management or the league with many of their problems, especially when they have to admit that they've done wrong. Mike, but last week you were representing the NFL, or this week you're representing this team, and how can I trust you? I didn't want to have those types of questions. And the good part of that is, when you do it the right way and you truly seek to help the player be better,
right,
the leagues and the teams then start recommending you.
Because everybody wins.
They go, we thought you were the enemy, but you helped our guy who had a drug addiction and had a gun problem and was beaten up on women, and he's straightening his act out, and our investment is now coming back to us.
Right.
Yeah.
Thinking of it from a commodity perspective. And we're going to recommend you to some other folks, and I go, guys, this was never adversarial. It was always about, even agents. Who's this guy you're hiring? I could do that for you. And I go, and then I call him, or I take him out to lunch, and I go, you do realize if you get 15%, and our guy, because I have a contract with him now, is damaged goods, that if I fix him, you make more money. You do realize that, right? Or is your ego so clouded that you don't understand that I'm actually helping you, and you don't have to pay for it?
Because all those boats rise on the same tide, don't they? Duh.
Yeah.
I mean, I know. But people, again, once you get inside either the Beltway in Washington, D.C. or up in Beverly Hills, the ego quotient goes up by a factor of 10. And, everybody's a star, even if they're behind the scenes. And so I think with sports and politics and Hollywood especially, the backline people, the behind the camera people, they, honest to God, sometimes in many cases, I deal with managers and label people who are worse than the artist to deal with.
But here's what I've also found. When you have the courage, and I've used the term intestinal fortitude already in this interview, it's extremely important. When you are solid with your own beliefs and values and ethics, and your own, and go as far as say morality and decision making,
Yep.
that you believe you have nothing to lose by being honest with these very powerful people, here's what happens. And if you believe in God, or you believe in a conscience, or you believe in planting a seed, and it's not all me,
Karma.
my ego isn't big enough to understand that I don't do it alone, that they have very few people then in their life who tell them the truth.
Yeah.
And
That's
when
right.
you take the risk, they might not like it right away. No one said they would like it, but they go eventually. I mean, I had a guy, corporate type,
Mhm.
chairman of a board, call me the N-word.
Oh,
And I was describing, well, this is what happened. I was describing a very deep crisis situation that he and the corporation were involved with. He was at risk that the D&O insurance for the board wasn't even going to cover his personal actions because he breached even the agreement that he had signed for the D&O insurance. And the insurance company was going to say, they're going to sue you personally. And I was explaining all that to him, and it all hit him like a ton of bricks. And the only thing that he could think of to project out is, oh, yeah, well, yeah, N. Right? Now,
I mean, I'm still.
here's what no one expected. I had already thought of that as a worst case scenario based on his background, that might happen. So
Yeah.
when it happened, I
You
was
were ready?
calm, and I said, okay, he hung up on me, right? Now, I'm going to give him some space because I believe there's a little seed in there.
Mhm.
Part of the seed was his wife whispering in his ear, you did what? You hung up with the guy who actually told you what I've been telling you, the truth.
You can fix it. Yeah.
You're going to call him back, and you're going to get him back, and you're going to apologize for what you did.
And pay him
And
double.
And the three of us are going to dinner.
Good
So he
girl.
calls me back 2 days later and says, very nervous. I'm sorry. I should have never said that. I projected on you. I was scared. This guy's never said he was scared to anyone in a long time. And I said, apology accepted. He said, this might sound crazy, but are you available for dinner later tonight? My wife and I are in town, and we'd like to. They were in Connecticut. They came into Manhattan. Take you to dinner. I said, sure. And she says to me, I told him what he needed to do to fix it, but I could never imagine that after you were called that you were so accepting that quickly.
Well, who's the bigger
Come
man?
to dinner. And then I said something else, which she didn't. I said, number one, I can't say the same rules to my clients and then not have the same rules for me, which is a life of second chances. That's what this is all about.
Wow. God bless you.
I mean, he deserved the second. But when you authentically apologize to someone and see that they're nervous and see that they've probably only done this once or twice in their life before, I have to honor that to say, again, thinking deeply from another person's perspective, that skill set, that took a lot for him to come back and say that to me.
Yeah.
And if I forgive him, where we were before, our trust is deeper now.
Yeah.
We're going to be able to move down this road quicker now because of what we just went through.
But you also just learned something about him that he might not have revealed. That you know where he's coming from, and now you know what you're dealing with.
Well, I also know, and I say this even when I have some impatience with prejudice and racism, that many times people have never had the experience of knowing someone like me, and how I react to what they might be doing or thinking, or even their body language that's clearly saying they're uncomfortable being around me. I give them the opportunity to say, oh my gosh, my father taught me X, Y, and Z about these people, and he's not like that. He's more like me. I'm going to take the risk to learn more about. I'm going to be kinder to him. I'm
Yeah.
breaking stereotypes that I was taught based on a fear that my father and my grandfather taught me.
Right.
Now, if I don't take that opportunity, you're not always going to have that kind of patience. It's very difficult to do. But
I'm
when you do, as you were talking about karma or these seeds that get planted or faith that takes over, I've seen it several times. I did it recently. I went to something that was a, red hot Republican zone, to a dinner, only person of color there, steak dinner, fundraiser,
Wow.
ironically, fire department types. And they're like, yeah, the dinner's in there. I said, yeah, I'm actually friends with, John. He's over here barbecuing. I'm going to hang out with you guys if that's all right. And they were kind of like, you mean you're not some stuffy? You're going to hang out with the boys?
Yeah.
And this is the body language I'm getting from the chief. Like, he's literally pulling back and putting his chin down. And I'm like, okay, I know his number.
Yeah.
5 minutes later, he goes, hey, Mike, I got you a beer. You want a beer? I said, sure. Starts talking to me, starts asking me about family. He's got a son about my age. They both play soccer. He sees some commonality.
Yeah.
Another chief walks over. Hey, let me introduce you to Mike. Right? I go to John. I go, dude, his body language started with this. And now only 5 minutes in, he's leaning back in.
Right.
And proud to introduce me to another chief. He goes, I just watched the whole thing. He goes, I'm still like, what just happened here?
Yeah, I mean, we're all products of, our learned behavior and where, our environment, where we come from. I am still super lucky to have had this young lady as a mother. She was widowed when I was 2. Her husband was killed in a car crash.
Sorry.
And we were living on £5 a week and sleeping in one bed because we had no heating in Liverpool. In the winter, it gets cold. And so she never, we went to an Irish Catholic church, so there were not a lot of people of color in our world. But then I was going to kindergarten because she had to have a full-time job. I started school at 2 and I was reading by 3.5, 4, which her misfortune turned into my education, right? So there's this, silver lining. And there was a little girl from Nigeria and another little girl from India who joined our class. Their fathers had been brought to Liverpool as one of the huge. Liverpool at one point in the world handled 7% as a port, 7% of the world's economy. So
Wow.
we had oil and gas people in town. We had the cotton trade, whatever in town. We also have a shameful history of slavery, as do most port cities in the world. But we are one of the most integrated cities in the world, or in the UK. And so these 2 little girls, an Indian girl and a Nigerian girl, came to my kindergarten, and I made friends with both of them, and we were drawing, things and, show and tell. And the teacher said, we're going to welcome Naomi, and I can't remember the little Indian girl's name. Let's all do a little drawing, we're 3.5, 4 years old, maybe. And so I drew the world and the sun and little yellow crayons for the Swedish ABBA-looking people, and then brown crayons for the Mediterranean babies, and then darker brown and black crayons for the equator babies, as I would have thought of them. And we all turned them in, and we had to stand up and say what it was. And I said, oh, well, the world is like a mummy's tummy. I was thinking of a pregnant woman. I didn't know the word pregnant. The world is like a mummy's tummy. And the babies that come from the middle of the mummy's tummy, they're born closer to the sun. So they already have a suntan, so they don't get burned. And
wow.
At 4, I explained to a whole class of like 32 kids, that was why these girls were different colors, because they were born and their ancestors were born closer to the sun, and God didn't want them to burn. And isn't that actually the truth when you think about it?
And the converse of that, when we all left Mother Africa and moved to other regions of the world, changes happen to us as well as human beings. And we're truly one race.
Correct.
Someone invented this race thing.
I know. Well, it puts a lot of people in power. It creates a lot of wars, and wars create a lot of money. And so it's a very convenient brand. I remember going to christening, I think I was probably about 7, at St. Teresa's Catholic Church in Liverpool, and seeing, Jesus Christ hanging on a cross, INRI, and all of that. And I turned and whispered to her, as if to say, what's that brand? Like, why do we, if we're supposed to be Catholics, why do we have a Jewish guy hanging on the wall? Right. And
she was always a clever arse.
No. It's just, it's always just completely confused me as to why we look at people. You can't judge a book by its cover. Yeah. But why we look at people and see them differently. We're all freaking humans. We all want our family to be safe and have food in their belly and a roof over their heads. And, I think what you do in helping people in crisis is so important. And that's what I want to get to is
Sure.
You have just formed a nonprofit so that there are funds in coffers to be able to help, whether it's, a racist event or a natural disaster, because there are lots of people who need your expertise who just don't have the money.
Yes. In fact, you mentioned the painting over my shoulder of my
Dina wants to know what that is.
So that's my great-grandfather, great-great-grandfather, and great-great-grandmother, William and Euphrasie Paul from Trinidad and Tobago. He was a community leader who had a small farm and would bring people together to make decisions that would help each other. So it was, some groupthink in a good way to deal with how do we get the best prices? How do we share resources when we don't have the money to buy various things? Someone might have more fertilizer and someone might have more water and that sort of thing. So I come from those kind of roots, which ultimately is not only dealing with helping people, but giving back. And what touched my heart from the beginning of even working in politics, as well as working for big PR firms before I started my own, is that was often those who could not afford services.
Right.
But also with the natural disasters, so there's a two-pronged attack. And the name of my firm for consulting is Reputation Doctor LLC. And we continue with a different organization. The name of the nonprofit, which is a 501c3 charity, is Reputation Doctor Foundation, which just got started a little over a month ago. And the mission is to be go bag ready, as in jump on a plane and called immediately to help with 2 different types of crisis situations. Natural disasters, everything from hurricanes and earthquakes and flooding and wildfires, to what I call man-made crises, sadly, that we're still dealing with, like racism and civil rights violations, domestic violence, special needs children being abused, all issues near and dear to my heart. The uniqueness of it is that it all deals with emergency and crisis communications as a solution. So, for example, if you can't get your message out to help others with any of these situations, it's going to only repeat itself.
Yep.
With natural disasters, for example, let's look at the fires in LA and the wildfires up north in Northern California. I've seen for decades repeated messages that don't work, where especially smaller towns or smaller counties that might not get the attention, who need help to get these messages out, we're ready to fly in and help immediately. One example. Okay, you could stay until we have a certain alert that goes off. The alert just happened, everybody out. Okay.
All at the same time in the traffic jam.
All at the same time. Can I ask you guys a question? Have you seen this movie before? What happens when you run out of gas in the area and they can't get out?
Yep.
When you first learn of the situation, do you have relationships with the oil companies where you say, hey guys, we need some pop-ups? Oh, what's a pop-up? Oh, there's a rest area off of the highway where there's a the ability to get gas for free, as in your way of giving back to people who have bought gas for you forever and they need it to save their lives.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's good corporate social responsibility to give back. You could film it. You can use it in your annual report. You could say, look at how we're helping society. You're not losing money.
You can write it off. Yeah.
Yeah.
I said, governors, county leaders, mayors, how come we don't have those kind of relationships? Second, when something is burnt to the ground, a house, for example, and the news says, oh, we got to get, some heart pulling. They're looking through the photos and they're looking at the burnt computer and they're looking at the burnt appliances. Let's go out there and interview them. You do realize you're standing on a whole load of carcinogens, right?
Yeah.
You do understand that it's supposed to be cleared by the authorities who are checking for radiation and other factors that are happening on that soil.
Mm-hmm.
My message now is, you remember 9/11?
Yeah.
That's like the dust. It's the same thing happening with every single one of these atrocities.
Yeah.
Right. But we're filming them, right, for good optics and TV and ratings.
Which makes it okay. Right.
And as they're crying, I said, guys, this playbook should not be repeated.
No.
And so many other factors that, with the crisis background, where we can help. We're trying to do kind of like a world
central kitchen
approach to crisis communications.
Yeah.
And his model, which is brilliant, which is, all we want to do is get in and feed people. All we want to do is help communicate to people to save lives.
Are you in touch with Chef Jose Andres by any chance yet? I know you're
not.
Okay, well, let me help you with that.
Oh, thank you. It's funny. I was going to say, I know a few people that know him, but you probably know him even better than me.
No, I don't know him personally, but I'm working very closely with his PR and his social media team on a James Beard charity thing.
Terrific.
So yeah, I think that Reputation Doctor Foundation should be the next tool in their toolbox, because they do an incredible job at getting there. They have a network of people with food trucks and huge paella pans, and they can boil 50 gallons of soup in a heartbeat.
Yes.
But your expertise is not their expertise, but it's all needed in any given situation, just like that.
And by the way, they're going into harm's way.
Yes.
Really?
As we saw this year, sadly, they had some people that got injured.
Oh yeah. Well, they had a couple killed in Gaza.
Right in the line of fire.
Yeah, they had a vehicle that was accidentally got a rocket launcher bomb in it in Gaza and killed three of their chefs. So that all of that needs to be part and parcel of the communication and the on the ground strategy between the haves and the have-nots and the decision makers and all of those things. By the way, if you've been enjoying this, as I hope you have, sponsored by Mrs. McCartney's Teas. Across the bottom, the crawl ticket has got both of Mike's wonderful websites in there, as well as his GoFundMe link. If you should feel like it's getting towards the end of the year and you made a bunch of money and you'd like to take that off your taxes, please go donate to Mike's deal. And when we put this up on YouTube, I will put all of his links and everything in there. But it is going across the bottom of the crawl there. So Angie had sort of a closing question.
Yes.
Yeah, of everything you've done, what is your proudest accomplishment?
Apart from your children.
Oh, well, guess what? That's part of the answer.
Your son.
The thing I'm proudest of is seeking to put family first. And as I talk about EQ being a very important tool in the toolbox, and I always ask the client in the first phone call, how are you doing? How's your family doing? Are you eating properly? Are you getting enough sleep? Are you drinking water? They all hear that and they go, what? Why are those? And then they learn why it's so important. So then I can't be cobbler's shoes and not do it myself. So, I was just telling a client who wanted to have a phone call yesterday at about 8:15 with, an emergency situation. I said, can it wait until 9:15? He said, why? I said, because I put my son to bed. I'm not around all the time. I'm working hard. That's our time. I get to find out what his day was. He gets to ask Dad any questions, and it's an important routine that, unless it's an absolute drop dead emergency, I keep that. And you should have big rocks like that with your family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we do. We have couch time, or if it's nice, outside time as a family. My husband Martin and myself and Ange, we all share a space. We live together upstairs, downstairs. And we carve out time every day, as do I, on the phone to just call old friends or clients or future clients with no agenda. Just say, how you doing? Are you taking care of yourself? What's going on?
Right.
So this has been just an absolutely, thank you so much for making the time, because I know you've probably got 100 phone calls to reply to in the last hour. But please do go check out reputationdoctor.com and also the foundation, which is linked off of there. And instead of paying taxes this year, give it to Mike, because he'll go help people.
Thank you. We've got a campaign right now on GoFundMe under the name Reputation Doctor Foundation, and you can find it there quite easily. But I appreciate that. Thanks.
No, absolutely. Mm-hmm. And a thing that you wouldn't have known, Mike, but our regular viewers will know, that Angie is known as the Limerick Lady. She has a book out called Mrs. McCartney's Liverpool Limericks and Other Random Irish Haikus.
Nice.
And she put pen to paper just for you, so if
early this morning.
If you're sitting comfortably for your personalized limerick, we will go right ahead. So I'll let you count in the speed.
1, 2, 3.
Meet the Rep Doctor, Mike Paul, who helps reputations stand tall. In crises he'll steer with wisdom so clear, restoring faith to one and all. Ta-da!
Wow. That is awesome. Thank you so much, Angie and Ruth, for that.
You are
such a pleasure, Mike. Thank you.
I'll email it to you so you can stick it in your whatever file, whatever the hell that was file.
Well, when I'm out in California, I look forward to seeing you guys. When you guys come to New York, please let us know, because I'd like to introduce you to the family as well. And it's terrific.
We're right by LAX, and the kettle is always on. And if it's after 5, there may be a corkscrew loose in the kitchen.
Sounds good.
Okay. Thank you, Mike. Everybody go check out reputationdoctor.com and his wonderful foundation, trying to help people in times of crisis that just don't have the money to fix their issues. So lots of love to you, Mike, and thanks for taking the time.
Thanks again. God bless you.
Appreciate it. God bless you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Teaflix, and check out Dr. Angie's books, Organic Teas and CBD at mrsmccartneysteas.com. Toodle pip.